hope it passes. I think it will. And frankly, I think it should, because this is a good piece of legislation. I always say, it's a good piece of legislation because the Democrats hate it so much. They don't like it because it actually empowers families by, letting them keep more of their money, giving them school choice, making sure our border stays secure, and making able-bodied people in our welfare system now have to work if they're going to get your tax dollars. So I think it's a good bill. I hope it passes.
I know that Congressman, obviously Democrats tell us that they hate the bill and they've not been part of this process. But what is your message to Republicans who are on the fence? We spoke earlier with Congressman Greg Murphy, for instance. He's really worried about changes to Medicaid having a detrimental impact on some low-income people in his district in North Carolina. There are others like him. This needs to be worked out in the family. What do you tell your colleague from North Carolina in a moment like this?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a 50-50 vote in the Senate. The vice president had to come break the tie. I don't know how many other changes we can make with that kind of a balance. It seems to me we're there, and it's time to pass this legislation. The other thing I know is politics is a lot like athletics, a lot like sport. Momentum matters. And right now, all the momentum is on our side. I mean, we've got a secure border that's taken place under President Trump's leadership. We had the successful operation in Iran. President goes to the NATO summit and gets all the NATO countries to ante up more money, 5% for our defense over there. I mean, we're on a good roll, and now we're gonna stop this bill with such a small majority on both the House and the Senate. Seems to me it's now time to pass it, particularly as I pointed out, because it does the things that actually empower families. I think it's a good bill. Let's get it done. Let's move on to the next item.
Well, President Trump certainly would like to see this done. He would like to see it done in the next few days. Congressman, do you see anything that the president could promise your colleagues who are not yet hard yeses on this bill that could assuage them, aside from changing the legislation itself?
I think you just point out what I just talked about. Talk about how good the bill is, the key things in it. I mean, again, if we don't pass this,
pursuing another reconciliation package or executive orders to address some of their concerns. All
that's fine, and we can get to that in the future. But I think you focus on what's in this. Any one single item in this bill, if you pulled it out and voted as a standalone bill, you'd vote for it. I mean, are we for cutting taxes, making sure taxes don't go up on the families we represent? Yes. Are you for saying no tax on tips? We campaigned on that. Yes, we're for that. Does it make sense for people who are able-bodied, who are getting your tax money in our welfare system? Does it make sense that they now have to work? There's a work requirement for able-bodied people. Yes, that makes sense. Standalone, you would vote for that. All these items. Would you vote for additional resources to make sure our borders stay secure after what we went through under Joe Biden? Of course you'd vote for that. But you put them all together in some big bill, and some people are like, well, we didn't cut enough spending. I agree, but it's still a good piece of legislation with all those things in it. I think you vote for it because it's consistent with what we told the voters we were going to do when they put us in office on November 5th.
I have to admit, Congressman, I still find it hard to believe that many Republicans are going to vote no and have a tax hike hanging around their necks when they go to run for re-election. I guess to your point, we heard from the former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, was with us this morning on Bloomberg Surveillance, speaking specifically to the holdouts on the Freedom Caucus. And you know who I'm talking about, the Chip Roys, Ralph Normans of the world, who say that they are a no and they want to send the bill back to the Senate with more changes. Here's what he told us.
What they want to do is get the attention they always crave, so they talk about that now. But how many times can you cry wolf and say you're not going to vote for something and in 24 hours vote for it? They have done this numerous times. They want the president's attention. They say this so they can go down to the Oval Office and see the president and go back home and say they saw the president.
Is that how you see this, Congressman? Everybody's a big shot until it's time to actually vote on the floor?
No, I mean, I think they have genuine concerns. I just think, as I pointed out, this is overall a good piece of legislation, and we should support it. It is. I always say we make the job way too complicated. The job's pretty simple. What'd you tell the voters you were going to do when you put your name on the ballot and you got elected? Go do what you told them you were going to do. And we said we're going to make sure your taxes don't go up. We're for work requirements. We're for all those things that are in this legislation. So they want additional cuts. I get it. We got huge deficits we're running on an annual basis. We've now piled up $37 trillion in debt. That's a problem. I get that. I wish we could cut more. But we got a handful of seats that give us the majority in the House. We got a 3-seat majority in the Senate. It's as tight as it gets. So you have to kind of figure out how we get the votes. moderates and conservatives working together. I think we've done that. And by the fact that it was 50-50 in the Senate, I just feel like, okay, there's no more wiggle room. It was 50-50. We're going to have to pass this thing and then look for other opportunities down the road to do some additional things relative to the deficits and the debt.
Well, sir, as we just heard from former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, we remember how his speakership ended, and it was with his own conference upset about some of his choices around fiscal matters. Do you see any risk to Mike Johnson's job as a result of what happens in the coming days?
No, I think the focus is on doing what we told the voters we're going to do. I think what happened to Kevin was wrong, but I don't see any concern with Speaker Johnson. I think Mike has done a good job and navigated through this as best as anyone could with, again, a small majority in the House and a small majority in the Senate. But it's time to pass it, in my judgment, and I hope it happens today.
Well, we do understand where you are, and I wonder how likely that is to happen. Congressman, just give us the state of play. We've got a couple procedural votes here. You need to pass a rule.
Yeah.
Do you think this gets to the floor tonight? Are you going to find yourself here cooking hamburgers and hot dogs on the 4th of July, getting ready to vote?
We're going to know, and I think we're going to know in the next hour. The rule vote's the key vote. If we can pass the rule vote, then I think we're going to pass it on the floor. If we don't pass the rule vote, then, we'll have to see. But I got to head to the floor right now and vote for I think we're on the previous question, then there's an amendment, and then there's the rule vote. So we got 3 votes that are happening on the floor now, and I got to head to the floor and vote. But if we get past the rule, I think we're going to be fine.
Okay.
And we'll let you, Mr. Chairman, go to the floor and vote. Just one more question for you. As the head of the FHFA, Bill Pulte, today suggested that Congress should investigate the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, in part for what he said was recent testimony to the Senate about the central bank's planned renovations to its headquarters. Do you intend to open such an investigation?
Everything's on the table. We haven't discussed that specifically. We'll take a look at that. Part of our constitutional duty is to do oversight of the executive branch and our committee. We do oversight of the judicial branch as well. So we'll take a look at all that. But yeah, that oversight's an important part of our, again, constitutional responsibility as members of the United States Congress.